The first encounter, Irella stood at the edge of the landing platform. Her silver skin shimmered under the soft blue lights of the spaceport. Her hands were cold. Her heart was racing. The voices of her people still echoed in her head. Humans are dangerous. They break what they can't control. Do not trust the smile of a human male. She held a small blade hidden in her long dress. It was not for attack. It was for protection. Or escape. The ship door opened slowly with a mechanical hiss. There he was. Tall, strong, human. Eli stepped forward with a calm smile. He looked nothing like the story she had heard. No scars, no cold eyes, no angry face. He looked soft, curious, kind. "Hello," Eli said, his voice quiet and gentle. "I'm Eli. I guess I'm your mate?" Cirella didn't answer. She only nodded once, tight and slow. He noticed the fear in her eyes. He stepped back a little, giving her space. "You don't have to come if you don't want to," he added. "This is not prison." Still, she walked forward, stiff like stone. Her blade felt heavier now. Inside the human home, everything was quiet, clean, warm. Eli showed her a room with a bed, books, and soft lights. "You can rest here," he said. "There's food, too. I tried to cook something from your planet, but I don't know if it tastes good." Cirella said nothing. She sat on the edge of the bed. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for threats, but everything was simple. Eli left her alone. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She just waited, watched, listened. Later that night, Cirella moved silently through the house. She was like a shadow, her blade hidden in her hand. She found Eli in his room, sitting at a table, reading something on a glowing screen. He looked tired, but peaceful. A glass of water sat beside him. He didn't hear her. She raised the blade slightly, but something stopped her. He sighed, then spoke quietly to himself. "I hope she's okay." She looked scared. I would be too if I was her. His voice wasn't cruel. It was soft, real. She stepped back and returned to her room. The next morning, Eli placed a tray of food near her door. "I'll be outside," he said through the door. "No pressure." Cirella opened the tray slowly. The food was strange, but it smelled close to home. She took a small bite. Her stomach, empty for a day, welcomed the food quickly. She hated it, but she ate all of it. That day, she sat near a window. She saw Eli in the garden fixing something with his hands. A small robot buzzed around him, carrying tools. A child from next door came running in. "Mr. Eli, the garden bird is hurt." Eli followed the child. He knelt beside a small bird with a damaged wing. Gently, he wrapped the wing and placed the bird in a box with soft cloth. Cirella watched. Her mind felt heavy with confusion. This is not what I was told. This is not a brutal human. That night, Eli brought her a book. "It's about our stars," he said. "It's got pictures, not many words." Cirella took it silently. Time passed, but not fast. Trust is slow. Eli never tried to touch her. Never raised his voice. Never walked into her room without knocking. He smiled sometimes, but not too much. He gave her space. Cirella began to sleep at night. Light, careful, but still, sleep. She still kept the blade near her bed, just in case. One evening, Eli was talking to someone on a screen. He thought she wasn't listening. "She hasn't spoken much," he said. "But I think she's observing. I don't blame her. If I were sent to an alien world to marry a stranger, I'd be scared too." Cirella felt something strange in her chest. Was it guilt? Respect? But everything changed when she saw the locked cabinet. She opened it quietly one night. Inside were old pictures, medals, and a file. A military file. Photos of Eli in battle gear. A soldier, a weapon in hand, standing beside burning buildings, blood on his face. Her blood ran cold. He was one of them. She closed the cabinet, sat on the floor, eyes wide. She had let her guard down. She had started to believe in him, and now she wasn't sure. But one thing was clear: Eli was not just a kind man. He was something more, and maybe something dangerous. Misunderstandings and small truths. The stars outside the window blinked like tiny, distant warnings. Cirella sat alone in her room, the military file still fresh in her memory. Eli was a soldier, a human warrior. The stories weren't all lies. She had almost trusted him. Her hands trembled as she held the blade once more. She felt stupid, weak. She had let her guard down. She had eaten his food, watched him with soft eyes, but warriors are trained to act kind, until the moment they strike. She stared at the door. Should she run? Should she kill him while he slept? No, not yet. She needed to be sure. The next morning, Eli knocked softly at her door. "I'm going to the market," he said. "I thought maybe you'd want to come. Or not. Up to you." His voice sounded nervous, like he was afraid she would hate him. Cirella opened the door just slightly. Her eyes met his. She gave a small nod. The market was bright and full of life. Alien vendors, robots, and humans all trading food, clothes, even music. But to Cirella, it felt like a trap. Every loud sound made her flinch. Every stare felt like a threat. Eli noticed. "It's okay," he said gently. "Nobody here will hurt you." She didn't answer. Her eyes scanned the crowd. Her hand stayed near her hidden blade. Then she saw something strange. Two humans arguing. Loud. Angry. One shoved the other. Cirella's breath stopped. Here it is, she thought. Violence. But before the fight began, Eli stepped between them. "Hey," he said. "Calm down, it's not worth it." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He just stood firm, and they backed off. Cirella stared at him in silence. Later, they walked through a quiet forest path. "I saw you looking at the cabinet," Eli said suddenly. "The one with my old military things." Her body stiffened. He knew. She turned slowly. "Ready for a fight." "I'm not angry," he continued. "You had every right to look. If I were you, I'd be suspicious too." She didn't speak, but her hand gripped the blade tighter. "I was a soldier," he said. 10 years ago, I fought in the Outer Rift War. It was bloody." He paused. His eyes darkened. "I lost friends. I lost myself for a while. I saw horrible things. I did things I wish I hadn't." Cirella narrowed her eyes. "Why did you stop?" Eli looked up at the sky. "One day I saw a child, alone, crying in the rubble. Her skin was blue, like yours. Alien. Enemy. I was supposed to walk past her." He shook his head. "But I didn't. I picked her up and carried her to safety." He looked at Cirella. "That was the day I stopped being a soldier." That night, Cirella sat by the window again. She didn't sleep. She just thought, was he telling the truth? Or was it another mask? She remembered the child, the bird, the gentle way he talked to her. But then again, a soldier can fake anything. The next day, she found a small notebook near his tools. She opened it. Drawings of her. Sketches of her hands, her eyes, her strange glowing skin. Little notes written in the margins. She looked sad today. Gave her a star map. She liked it. What is she thinking when she stares at the trees? Cirella closed the book. She was confused again. Why would a warrior draw her like this? But before she could decide, something unexpected happened. That night, as she walked past the front room, she heard a new voice. A female voice. From the communicator screen. "Target still present?" the voice asked. Eli replied quietly. "Yes, she's here." Cirella's blood turned cold. "Target? Was she a mission? A trap? Status?" the voice asked again. Eli hesitated. "She's not what we thought. She's just scared." There was silence. "Orders?" Eli asked. The voice said one word, "Observe." Then the screen went dark. Zarella backed away silently, her heart slamming against her ribs. He was watching her? For what? To report? To betray? Everything she thought was slowly turning into smoke. The next morning, Eli brought her tea. "You didn't sleep," he said softly. She looked at him, her eyes blank. She didn't answer. He sat across from her. "I was ordered to watch you," he admitted. At first, she blinked. Cold ran through her veins. "But things changed," he added quickly. "After I met you, after I saw you weren't the enemy." She stood up. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I thought you'd run," he said, "and I didn't want that." He looked down. "I wanted you to stay." Silence filled the room like fog. Zarella wanted to scream, she wanted to cry, but instead, she just walked away. In her room, she sat for hours. The blade rested on the table, beside her, not in her hand, just near. She didn't know if she hated Eli or if she was starting to understand him. Maybe both, maybe neither. That night, she opened her door. Eli was in the kitchen making something warm. She walked over, slow and quiet. She placed the military file on the table between them. He looked at it, then looked at her. Her voice was low. "Next time, just tell me the truth." He nodded. "I promise." Outside, the stars blinked again, but this time they didn't look like warnings. They looked like questions, unanswered and full of possibility. Secrets revealed. The nights were getting colder, not the air, the silence between them. Zarella, no. Longer watched Eli like a threat, but she didn't look at him like a friend either. She existed in the middle, a dangerous place where truth and doubt mixed like storm clouds. And Eli, he kept trying. A quiet meal every evening, a book on alien art, a soft joke that sometimes made her lips twitch, but never quite become a smile. He was patient, too patient, and that made her nervous. One morning, she stood in the garden while Eli worked nearby. She asked suddenly, "Who was the girl?" He looked up, confused. "What girl?" "In your drawings," she said. "The one with wings." Eli blinked. His hand froze in midair. "That's not a girl," he said slowly. "It's my sister." Zarella tilted her head. "She had wings. They were fake," he chuckled softly. "She used to pretend she was an alien bird. Said she wanted to fly away from Earth." "Where is she now?" Zarella asked. Eli went quiet. "She died. In the war." A long pause. "She was just a kid," he added, voice low. "Our home got caught in a drone strike, not even a target, just wrong place, wrong time." Zarella looked away. She didn't say sorry. She knew from her own world. Sorry doesn't change the dead, but she understood something new. This man had lost more than just battles. He had lost family. Later that day, she explored the house more. The blade stayed hidden under her sleeve, but her steps were lighter. In the far corner of the house, she found something strange, a door sealed, with a code. She waited until Eli went outside, then tried the keypad. 3 wrong guesses. Then a soft beep, unlocked. The door opened to a dark stairway leading down. Zarella hesitated, then stepped inside. The room below was cold and humming with low machines. Blue lights blinked on walls, shelves lined with data drives, old weapons, and something far worse, a stasis pod, and inside, floating in blue light, a small alien child. Zarella gasped, stepping closer. The child was asleep, peaceful, skin light purple. Thin antennae, not from her species but close, maybe from a nearby system, a hybrid? She checked the pod's label, Project CR02, preservation only, do not open, high-risk subject, signed by Command Officer Eli Mason. Her hand shook. Eli's full name. His military rank, He wasn't just a soldier, he was a commander, a high-level one. Why had he hidden this? Behind her, she heard a soft voice. I thought you'd find it eventually. She turned sharply. Eli stood in the doorway. No anger, no panic, just regret. What is this? She demanded. He stepped inside slowly. She's a survivor, he said. From an illegal lab. My last mission was to destroy it. Cyrella's voice turned sharp. You kept her in a pod? Eli nodded. She was unstable, half human, half alien, grown too fast in a test tube. Her body couldn't handle the growth. I put her in stasis to save her, until I could find a way to fix her. Why hide this from me, she whispered. Because I thought you'd see it as proof I was still part of the system, still playing war. Aren't you? No, he said quietly. I left it all, but I couldn't leave her. Zirella looked at the sleeping child, and for a moment, she believed him. They sat in silence on the stairs after that. Eli told her everything, his last mission, the secret base, the order to destroy every imperfect life form the lab had created. He had refused. He had rescued the child and ran. I've been hiding ever since, he said. Earth doesn't know I'm alive. Cyrella looked at him, confused. But the voice, the person giving you orders? That wasn't Earth, Command, Eli said grimly. That was a private contractor. They want her back. He looked at the ceiling above them. And now? They want you too. That night, Zarella couldn't sleep. She sat by the child's pod for hours. Her eyes moved between the strange little girl and the man who had once been a weapon. She thought of her own leaders, who had sent her here like an offering. Were they really better? The next morning, she found a message chip near her door. A voice played in her own language. Agent Cyrella, this mission is terminated. Human subject is compromised. Return immediately or eliminate the target. Full judgment will follow. Her heart dropped. Her people didn't want peace anymore. They wanted blood. They wanted Eli dead. And if she didn't do it, she'd be hunted next. She held the blade in her hand again. But now, it didn't feel like protection. It felt like a choice, a heavy one. Eli stood in the garden as the wind blew gently through the trees. She walked toward him. He turned, smiled faintly. You okay? She looked at him for a long time, and said nothing. Escape. Or obey. The blade felt heavier than ever. Cyrella stood behind Eli, her hand shaking slightly as it rested near her waist. The message from her people still echoed in her mind. Return, or eliminate the human. There is no third option. Wind rustled the leaves. A bird chirped high in the trees. Eli turned around, his eyes calm, trusting. That trust hurt more than any weapon. You okay? He asked again. Zarella forced a small nod. Inside, she was screaming. That night, she stood at the edge of Eli's room while he slept. The moonlight painted silver lines on the floor. Her blade was in her hand again, but it no longer felt like hers. She stared at him for a long time. The man who made tea. The man who saved a child. The man who carried war in his past. And regret in his eyes. If she obeyed her orders, she could go home, but what kind of home kills those who choose peace? She looked at the blade and placed it on the table beside his bed. At sunrise, she packed silently. Not to leave. To run. With him. She walked into the kitchen. We need to go, she said. Eli blinked. Now? Why? They've sent assassins, she said. Not to bring me back. To clean up. Eli's eyes narrowed. Your people? She nodded once. And yours too. Eli didn't waste time. He went to the basement, opened a hidden panel in the wall, and pulled out 2 compact bags. I was hoping I'd never use these again, he muttered. One held weapons. The other, emergency IDs and off-world credits. They moved fast. Through back paths, abandoned roads. By nightfall, they reached a transport port deep in the mountains. Not official, not clean, but fast. The child's stasis pod was loaded onto a hover crate, disguised as medical cargo. "Where are we going?" Cyrella asked as they boarded a small civilian ship. Eli looked at her. "To the neutral zone," he said. "On Caldas 3. They don't answer to Earth, or your people. We can hide there. Maybe even wake her safely." Cyrella nodded, but inside her instinct screamed. Something was wrong. Halfway through the journey, the ship lights flickered. Eli stood quickly. "That's not normal." Before he could finish his thought, the ship jerked violently. An alarm blared. "Unidentified vessel approaching. Weapons detected." Cyrella's heart dropped. She looked through the window. A sleek black craft flew beside them. No insignia, no lights. A hunter ship. Not military. Not legal. Worse, a bounty-class tracker. Suddenly, the cabin was filled with smoke as the emergency systems activated. "Brace," Eli shouted, grabbing the pilot's controls. They dove sharply toward a nearby moon covered in thick mist and jagged cliffs. The bounty ship fired, but missed, just barely. Eli managed to land the civilian ship hard, too hard, into a ravine. Metal groaned, glass cracked, and sparks danced around the floor. But they were alive, just barely. The child's pod was intact. They didn't wait. Cyrella and Eli carried the pod out into the mist. Cold air bit their skin. The moon's surface was sharp and dangerous. Every rock looked like a trap. "Why would they risk attacking us in public space?" Cyrella whispered as they climbed. "Because someone gave them permission," Eli answered darkly. "Which means we don't just have enemies. We have powerful ones." They found a cave for shelter. Eli checked the pod, adjusting its energy levels. "She's stable." But the shock almost triggered her vitals. Cyrella sat against the wall, exhausted. Her mind raced. She had betrayed her orders. And now, they were hunted. Not just for disobedience, but because they knew too much. Later, while Eli slept lightly, Cyrella activated her personal comm device, one she had hidden deep in her clothes. She sent a message, not to her leaders, not to Earth, but to an old contact, a smuggler from the neutral zone, someone who owed her a favor. She didn't ask for rescue. She asked for truth. "Why do both governments want Eli and the hybrid child gone?" The reply came quickly, one word. "Unity." She stared at it confused. Then, another message came. "If people see a peaceful human and alien raising a hybrid child, they will start asking questions. Dangerous questions. The kind that break old systems." Suddenly it made sense. Eli wasn't dangerous because of what he'd done. He was dangerous because of what he represented. Hope. And hope is something corrupt leaders fear. In the morning, as they prepared to move again, Cyrella looked at Eli with new clarity. "You were never the mission," she said. Eli paused. "What do you mean?" "They didn't send me to make peace," she said. "They sent me to prove you were a monster, to show my people that humans can't be trusted." "And now?" he asked. She looked at him. "Now I know they lied. Just..." Then a loud crack echoed through the cliffs. A red beam zipped past Eli's head, hitting the cave wall. They'd been found. Two figures in camo cloaks moved toward them with rifles in hand. Silent, fast, deadly. Cyrella pushed Eli down and returned fire with one of the stolen pistols. Eli grabbed the child's pod and started running. The cave lit up with laser bursts. Cyrella dove behind a rock, aimed, and took one of the attackers down. The second, one vanished into the mist. For now. They didn't stop running for hours. When they finally reached the extraction point, the smuggler's ship was already waiting. Rusty, loud, ugly, but fast, perfect. As they lifted off, Cyrella looked down at the moon below, burned, cold, broken, like the systems trying to kill them. But she wasn't broken. Not anymore. She had chosen her side. Trust begins. The smuggler's ship groaned through the outer atmosphere, pushing past broken satellites and forgotten space debris. The stars outside looked sharp and distant, like they were watching silently. Inside, the lights were dim. The engines buzzed with tired breath. And in the cargo hold, Eli sat beside the stasis pod, one hand gently resting against the glass. The hybrid child slept peacefully, unaware that the world wanted her dead. Zarella stood near the doorway, watching him. He looked older now, not in his face but in his silence. She had seen men tired from war before, but Eli's weariness came from something deeper. Not regret, not fear, something more dangerous. Hope, and hope always costs more. The smuggler, a lizard-faced alien named Varnak, leaned against the control panel. "You two cause quite the noise," he hissed with amusement. "People are talking. Human and alien fugitives, escaping together, carrying a child like that?" Zarella didn't smile. "Just get us to Caldas 3. Varnak shrugged. "Sure, but once you're there, don't expect peace. That moon has no kings but plenty of knives." 3 days passed. The ship landed on Caldas 3, a neutral moon spinning quietly at the edge of known space. No military, no government, only refugees, smugglers, healers, and ghosts. Eli and Zarella set up in a small underground shelter beneath a crumbling old tower. It was cold, damp, but it was hidden, safe, for now. That night, Eli cooked. It wasn't great, but it was warm. Zarella sat across from him, quietly chewing something that tasted like rubber and spice. For the first time, she spoke without tension. "You were a terrible soldier, weren't you?" Eli raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me? You disobeyed. You saved a child. You fell in love with alien drawings. You make food that tastes like burnt stone." A pause. Then, a small smile. He laughed. Zarella's lips twitched too. Something invisible cracked between them, like a wall finally letting in light. Later, while Eli slept, Zarella walked to the pod. She stared at the child, glowing softly under the stasis field. Her fingers brushed the glass. And suddenly, the child's eyes snapped open. Zarella jumped back. The pod beeped. A soft light flickered on the child's neck. A small implanted device, pulsing red. "Eli," she called. He rushed in, weapon in hand. "She's awake," Zarella whispered. "She's looking at me." Eli dropped to his knees beside the pod. That shouldn't be possible. Her vitals were stable. The girl inside didn't move, didn't cry, she just stared, her eyes glowing pale blue, not with fear, with awareness. Eli checked the scanner. Her mind's active, too active. She's processing language, visuals, memory patterns. "She's thinking?" Zarella asked. Eli nodded. "And not like a child." He looked at the red pulsing light again. "That's not just a medical tracker. That's a signal." Zarella's voice turned cold. "Someone knows she's awake." Outside, the wind howled over the broken towers of Caldas 3. Inside the darkness of an orbiting ship, a figure smiled. "Found you." Back in the shelter, Zarella stood guard while Eli tried to stabilize the pod. But her thoughts wouldn't stay quiet. She had seen that look in the child's eyes. Not newborn curiosity, not confusion, recognition. Who is she, really? Zarella whispered. Eli looked up. "I told you, a hybrid, grown in a lab." "No," she said firmly. "There's more." He hesitated, then sighed. "They tried to create a peace weapon," he said. "A child that could live between both worlds. Human and alien DNA. Enhanced intelligence, emotional mapping, genetic empathy." "Empathy?" Eli nodded. "She can feel others, read them, learn from them, mirror emotions." Zarella's eyes narrowed. "Then she doesn't just understand me, she becomes like me. She becomes like anyone who cares for her," Eli said. "Which is why they want to control her." Suddenly the shelter's lights flickered. A high-pitched signal screeched through the comms. then went dead. A soft metallic sound echoed from the hallway. Footsteps. Cyrella pulled her weapon. "We have company." Eli sealed the pod, set it to portable mode. They moved quickly, silently, through the back tunnels, up a hidden stairwell, and out into the cold night. But as they emerged, they weren't alone. A tall figure in black armor stood before them, eyes hidden behind a red visor. His voice was robotic, cold. "Subject CR02 must be returned. Step aside." Eli aimed. Not happening. The figure took one step forward. "The child is property of Genesis Core. Illegal possession is punishable by execution." Cyrella moved in front of Eli. "She's not property." The figure raised a plasma blade. "She is the future, and the future belongs to us." The fight was fast. Cyrella moved like shadow. Eli fired clean shots, but the armored man was stronger, faster, enhanced. He knocked Eli aside, swung at Cyrella. She dodged, barely. He struck again, grazing her arm. She stumbled back, bleeding. But before the final strike landed, the child's pod beeped, then opened. A blinding pulse of energy burst out. The armored man flew back, crashing into the wall. The child stepped out, standing on weak legs, eyes glowing white-blue. Her small voice filled the air like music. And thunder. "Leave. Them. Alone." The man froze. Then dropped his weapon, like a puppet cut from strings. He turned and walked away. Silence followed. Cyrella stared at the child. "What did she do?" Eli stood, eyes wide. "She didn't just mirror emotions." He swallowed hard. "She rewrote them." The child walked slowly to Cyrella and touched her hand. "You feel safe?" she said softly. Cyrella knelt, shaking. "What's your name?" The girl tilted her head. "I don't have one." Cyrella looked at Eli. "We need to hide her better, train her, protect her." Eli nodded. "But first," Cyrella said, standing tall again, "we need to find out who else wants her. And why." Far above Caldus 3, the red visor flickered to life again. A new voice echoed across space. "Initiate Phase 2. If the child has awakened, the war must begin." The chase and the choice. The next 3 days felt like one long breath held in the dark. Cyrella, Eli, and the girl, now moving and thinking like someone far older than her appearance, moved from shelter to shelter across the barren districts of Caldus 3. Old mines, abandoned silos, shattered transport hubs, places no one looked twice at, but eyes were always watching. Eli slept in shifts, his weapon never far. Cyrella stopped dreaming, and the girl never closed her eyes at all. They named her Lyra, not because she asked for it, but because when Cyrella said the name aloud, Lyra smiled for the first time. "I like it," she had said softly. "It sounds like stars." Lyra was changing, fast, too fast. She began to speak in fluent alien dialects after hearing them once. She could finish Eli's sentences before he spoke. She looked at strangers and spoke of things they never said out loud. "She's evolving," Eli whispered one night. "Her mind, it's not a child's. She's becoming something else," Cyrella said, "something they can't control." "Which means," Eli replied, eyes grim, "they'll stop trying to catch her and start trying to erase her." The next morning, they reached a data hub hidden beneath a ruined observatory. Eli had once worked with the owner, a retired human rebel named Griggs. Griggs let them inside with a grunt. He was missing 2 fingers, half an ear, and carried a plasma shotgun like a trusted friend. "Don't plan on staying long," he warned. "You 3 are hotter than a fusion core right now." Eli nodded. "We need access to galactic records, Project Genesis Core. Any leaks, any truth." Griggs lit a smoke. "You're digging into poison." "Then we better hold our breath," Cyrella said. While Griggs searched, Cyrella sat with Lyra near an old hollow table. It played stars, planets, drifting data streams. Lyra stared into it, calm. Too calm. "What are you seeing?" Zarella asked. Lyra blinked slowly. "Everything." Then her expression changed. "I see you," she whispered. Zarella paused. "What do you mean?" "I feel your fear," Lyra said. "You're scared, but not for me." Zarella didn't respond. But inside, she felt the cold truth. She wasn't afraid of losing Lyra. She was afraid of losing Eli. That night, the data came in. Griggs tossed a dusty drive on the table. "Here, what's left of the Genesis core files. Someone's been wiping them from every system." Zarella opened the drive. What she read made her stomach twist. Phase 2. Protocol. Controlled chaos. Objective. Frame hybrid child as threat. Spark new human-alien conflict. Regain full planetary control through fear. Sacrifices accepted. 1. Eli Mason. 2. Zarella 47. Her name. His name. Marked for death. To ignite a war. They don't want peace, Zarella whispered. They never did, Eli said. He turned to Lyra, who was now staring silently at the stars. She's not a threat, he said. No, Zarella replied, voice tight. But they'll make her one. Suddenly the base lights cut out. A power pulse. Griggs swore. EMP spike, they found us. Zarella grabbed Lyra. Eli ran to the wall and pulled out 2 guns and a portable escape map. Outside, engines roared overhead. Dropships. Multiple. Griggs stayed behind to cover them. They ran, through tunnels lit only by red emergency lights, through frozen winds on cracked moon rock, with gunfire chasing them like a heartbeat. And then, a dead end. A canyon split the earth. Too far to jump. No bridge. No path. Behind them, soldiers approached, cloaked, armed, fast. Zarella turned to Eli. There's no way across. Eli looked at Lyra. She stood at the edge, arms spread, wind blowing her hair like silver threads. Hold my hand, she said calmly. Zarella and Eli looked at each other, then obeyed. The world twisted, colors bent, the canyon folded. In one breath, they were on the other side. In another, Lyra collapsed. Eli caught her. She was burning up. Her skin glowed bright white. She's too weak, he said. She pushed herself too far. Behind them, the canyon opened again. But now, something stepped through, not a soldier, not a bounty hunter. A tall figure in alien ceremonial robes. Purple skin. Golden eyes. Zarella froze. It was High Elder Varen, one of her own world's rulers. Zarella, he said gently. You've gone too far. She stepped forward, blade in hand. You lied. You used me. You wanted war, not peace. Varen tilted his head. Peace is illusion. Power is balance. And that child is tipping the balance. She's just a child, Zarella shouted. Varen's eyes narrowed. She is a weapon born from both our enemies. Her existence is a spark in dry fields. Let her live and the galaxy burns. Then he looked at Eli. Give her to me, he said, and I will spare him. Silence. Zarella's heart cracked in her chest. Eli shook his head. No, he said. I won't let her go. Varen looked at Zarella. You don't have to die with him. You can return, clear your name, be a hero to your people. Zarella stepped between Eli and the elder. I already chose my people, she said. She turned and looked at Eli. You are my people now. Then she raised her weapon and fired. A beam struck Varen's shoulder. He screamed, more in shock than pain, and vanished into a shimmer of light. A decoy. A test or a warning. They didn't wait. They ran again. This time not as fugitives, but as family. Zarella, Eli, and Lyra. Broken, burned, but together. Redemption and love. The sky over Caldas 3 was no longer silent. Storm clouds gathered, not from nature, but from warships. Silent, sharp and black like vultures circling a dying world. Above, 2 great fleets moved into orbit. One from Earth's secret faction, Genesis Core, one from Zyrella's homeworld, led by High Elder Vorin, and both had the same goal: eliminate the hybrid child. Destroy all evidence. Kill the witnesses. Eli stood on the roof of an abandoned watchtower, looking up at the sky. His eyes were tired, but clear. He had no illusions. They wouldn't survive this. Not unless something changed. Not unless someone chose. Peace marked loud enough to be heard. Below, in the crumbling tower's command center, Lyra lay still on a cot. Her body glowed faintly, shifting between warmth and blue light. She was barely breathing. Zyrella's placed a cool cloth on her forehead. Her hands trembled. "She's fading," she whispered. Eli entered the room. She used too much energy. That jump across the canyon, bending space like that, it tore something inside her. Zyrella looked up at him, her voice cracking. "She's just a child." Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. "No," he said quietly. "She's more than that now." Suddenly, the communicator sparked to life. A transmission broke through. Voren's voice. "Zyrella, this is your last chance. Leave the child. Deliver the traitor, and I will spare your life." She stared at the screen and slowly turned it off. That night they sat beside Lyra. She opened her eyes slowly. "I feel them," she whispered, coming closer, hate surrounding them. "You need to rest," Eli said. "I don't have time," Lyra replied. Her voice had changed. It echoed like wind in a canyon, young and ancient at the same time. "I can end this," she said. "But I need your help." Zyrella leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Lyra pointed to her chest. "My heart isn't just mine. It belongs to both your worlds. If I show them what I am and what I feel, and they'll have to see." "See what?" Eli asked. Lyra met his eyes. "That peace is possible." Morning came, and with it, death. Dozens of dropships descended across the landscape. Armored troops. Drones. Mechs. Each side thinking the other had broken a ceasefire. Each side believing the child had already been turned into a weapon. All lies. But powerful ones. In the ruins of the tower, Eli, Zyrella, and Lyra stood at the edge of a platform, a broken bridge high above the valley. Their only escape was gone, and the armies were closing in. "We can still run," Eli said, knowing it was a lie. Zyrella shook her head. "No, we end it here." Lyra stepped forward. "I need to reach them, all of them, their minds, their fears, their hearts." Eli frowned. "That kind of power—" "I know," Lyra said. Zyrella grabbed her hand. "You'll die." Lyra smiled, soft and sad. "Maybe, but maybe, something will live." Suddenly the sky lit up. Dozens of targeting lasers locked onto the tower. From above, drones hovered. Soldiers screamed through radios. "Visual confirmed. Hybrid is exposed." "Orders received. Eliminate target." Zyrella held Lyra tight. "No, I won't let you go." But Lyra looked at her with no fear at all. "I'm not dying," she whispered. "I'm becoming something more." She walked forward and glowed. Her light expanded, outward, upward, pulsing through the air like music. Above, the soldiers paused. The drones lost signal. The commanders stared at their screens as strange waves filled their ships. Waves of memory, emotion, empathy. Each person, soldier, officer, killer, suddenly felt everything Lyra had felt. Her pain, her loneliness, her hope, her love for Eli and Zyrella, her desire for peace. Some dropped their weapons. Some fell to their knees. Others wept. The sky stopped burning. The attack never came. But the light was too much. Lyra's body collapsed in Zyrella's arms, her eyes fading. "I'm tired," she said softly. "You're going to be okay," Zyrella whispered, tears falling. Eli knelt beside them. "No," Lyra said, "I'm not meant to stay. But I'll never leave you." She reached out, touched their hands, and with one final pulse of light, she vanished. Silence. No war, no explosions, just wind and peace. 2 days later, the fleets retreated. No battles were fought, no shots fired. Something had changed. Something. Deep across the galaxy, messages spread. The child is gone, but what she showed us remains. We saw what could be, not enemies, but something better. No more lies, no more fear. Months passed. Xyrella and Eli didn't return to their homes. They made a new one, together, in a small green valley on a quiet world where no flags flew. They planted a garden, built a home with stone and light. They laughed, they cried, and they remembered. Every night they placed a candle on the windowsill, for Lyra, for what she had become, and what she had taught the world. One day, a young girl came to their door, skin pale lavender, eyes glowing faint blue. She looked up at them and smiled. "Do I know you?" she asked. Eli and Xyrella stared in disbelief. Because they did. They knew her smile, her eyes, her soul. It was Lyra, or something, someone, reborn. Not a weapon, not a target, but a beginning. "She was never meant to end the world," Xyrella whispered. "She was meant to heal it."